you're not rid of me yet, I would like to call to the stage President of the Ben Gurion University. We need Ben Gurion to be, strong. Professor Daniel Chamovitz. How are you?
Great, I'm great, thanks. Hungry.
You're hungry?
Yeah.
It's great to be before the food, let me tell you. It's really great. How you doing?
I'm good.
So
thanks,
you sound, I always say I sound American, but I'm very Israeli. I made Aliyah when I was 3, so someone made Aliyah for me. You grew up in America, real America,
I grew up
not in New York.
I grew up in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, which is closer to West Virginia and Ohio. Oh, thanks you. Someone from Aliquippa? No, it couldn't be because I'm the only Jew from there. And we all made Aliyah.
Okay, so, you and yourself?
My family.
Oh, okay.
When I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were just, first of all, you have the honor of being the president of, oh, look at that. You had the honor of, just recently I saw you had an award ceremony in memory of Ben Gurion and, have the archives and able to just dive in and pull out things from Israel's first prime minister. But just lately, actually, you were abroad speaking at a university in...
A small university, Oxford.
If you heard of Oxford, very nice and positive place for Jews. So we actually prepared ahead of time a video of you...
Trigger warning.
...in Oxford. Let's see it right behind us.
When you invite people like Ben Gurion University who have racist policies, it makes no sense. How can you proudly let your university support racial violence? Just last week, on Wednesday, the 20th of November...
Yeah, I was interrupted 7 times.
7 times. So what are we seeing here, Professor?
So here we're seeing a Chinese-Palestinian activist.
Chinese-Palestinian, okay.
Yeah, he's disrupting my lecture. And interestingly,
what was the lecture about?
It's Ben Gurion University as a paradigm for inclusive diversity under fire.
Okay.
And they were screaming, "We don't want your diversity here."
Okay.
I was talking about how Ben Gurion University in the Negev, under war where we lost 117 people since October 7th, have a peaceful campus with Arabs and Jews, among them Bedouin, I even had a Bedouin employee who was killed fighting in Gaza. And over these past 14 months, there has been exactly 0 cases of violence or tension or of demonstrations on our campus, showing that in Israel, at the universities, we know how to do diversity and inclusion for the good of the country, and we could actually be a paradigm for teaching American universities how to deal with complexity, because I think sort of American kids have completely lost the ability to deal with complexity, to deal with what gray is.
You think?
Yeah, a little.
Okay. And
I'm saying that as someone who went to Columbia as an undergrad.
Okay. How was that, by the way? Did you experience any? I mean, nowadays Columbia is like, it's like the epicenter of the encampments, anti-Semitism. But back in the day,
actually, I was a student there in the early 1980s, and I made Aliyah in 1984. I transferred out of Columbia to Hebrew University because I realized then that there was nascent anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism at Columbia. My friends, New York Jews said, "Oh, no, you're just being paranoid. America is different." Well, maybe Miami is different, but New York is not different. New Yorkers don't get it. And I knew that anti-Semitism was just waiting to come out. There was already Edward Said, and I just had to get out of there.
Right. So you speak about diversity. What is diversity? Well, in Ben Gurion, right? You have Arabs, you have Druze, you have Jews. That rhymes.
We only have 3 more minutes left, but diversity is... So what is our goal as any university, but especially Ben Gurion University, but it's the same for all of us? We need to make sure that no potential gets lost. Losing a potential is we can't get that back. And so we need to make sure that we could take our weakest populations and integrate them into Israeli society, whether that be the Bedouin Arab of the Negev. And by the way, the other Arabs of Israel there's no affirmative action because they've reached the level that they can get accepted to universities competing with Jews. It's only the Bedouins that we have to integrate and the Ethiopian students, that they have these backgrounds that they need more effort to get in and to succeed and to graduate. And I understand that coming from Aliquippa, because I was actually accepted to Columbia on affirmative action coming from a small school.
Okay.
I actually had to take remedial English as a freshman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a true story.
And how's your English?
I'll let you decide.
Okay, it's pretty good. So it's interesting because, and every president of the university comes from a different, faculty, different background. And you have a unique specialty, which is plants.
Yeah, so
I'm like the
I actually just closed my lab.
Way of saying.
I actually just closed my lab, which has been very traumatic to give up the identity of being a scientist and only be a university president. But I studied plant genetics, which we couldn't really do at Columbia University, and my goal was always to feed the world. Because, if we know how to feed the world, then so many of the conflicts that go on would not be what would be happening. If you look at Israel, it's actually incredible that 80% of Israel's agricultural exports come from the Negev, a place that is a desert. And so if we can make the desert bloom, Ben Gurion's dream, that's why we have our institutes for desert research in Sde Boker. If we can do that without water, how can we help the rest of the world do that in places that have many more resources?
Wow. That is interesting and fascinating. Now, you also have a second role, which is, I don't know how to translate it into English.
So I'm the head of the Council of University Presidents. It's a very thankless job.
In Hebrew, it's easy. You just say
it's
batat.
Called Vera.
Oh, Vera, sorry.
Yeah, and without
Different
insulting my colleagues here, I'm a kindergarten teacher for the other university presidents and also have to interact
How's that going for you?
And then have to interact between them and the government.
Not fun.
But right now we've taken on ourselves to lead the fight against the BDS. Because we can't let the government do it. We can't let other people do it for it. It's only universities who know how to fight the BDS, and we've taken it upon ourselves to hire people to really fight the BDS in Europe, in North America, in the United States, in Canada. And each country has its own specificity on how we need to do it.
Okay, and then how can universities actually be the stepping stone, hopefully the day after this war, and continue rebuilding, whether at the Negev or Israel?
So I can only, it's true for all the universities, but let me talk specifically about, we are not Ben Gurion University of Beersheba. We are Ben Gurion University of the Negev. Mm-hmm. We have campuses in Beersheba, Sde Boker, Eilat, and in Ashkelon now. We realize that we have a two-fisted responsibility. Of course, we're doing world-class research and world-class academics with almost 20,000 students. But we have to take responsibility for the Negev. It's Ben Gurion who said in 1963, when I was born, when there were more camels than people in Beersheba. And he said, I dream of a Hebrew Oxford. I'm sorry that he used Oxford.
Oh, man.
A Hebrew
Back
Oxford, a modern Yavne in the Negev. And the question is, was he a prophet, a visionary, or a madman? Who could have think of a Hebrew Oxford in the Negev when it took 5 hours to drive from Tel Aviv there? And now we are the center of that ecosystem with our hospital and with the university where we've built a whole new reality. And after the war, it falls upon us to provide that expertise that is needed to develop the entire Negev. If I could say, government after government, whether left or right, has given lip service to the Negev, but once after the elections, nothing happens.
Right.
And if we don't put the Negev now at the center of our agenda, like we also need to put the Upper Galilee at the center of our agenda, we will lose a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really move Israel out of the center of the country. And one more Ben Gurionism.
So if anybody here is going to be a future prime minister, you should make this promise and
Ben Gurion said, if we don't make a stand in the Negev, we won't stand in Tel Aviv. And after October 7th, we understand that more than ever. And this is now our time to do that.
Perfect. Professor, thank you so much for doing what you do and bringing Ben Gurion to life.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.